Hi, everyone, and welcome to episode 89 of the Purple Hyacinth podcast, Venturesome Visit. And today we have Meg and Emma. Okay, it's just saying hi. So we ended off last episode with our super surprising content with Bella coming to her caravan, opening it up and seeing cool as a cucumber, Darcy sitting there. And now we're going to find out more. And she opens up with the same line she left off last time. Fancy a cup of tea, just looking completely composed. Obviously, I think knowing, deliberately being casual, knowing what effect her appearance has on Bella. I mean, this lady has got some emotional manipulation skills, let's just say.
Yes, that's what I loved. Like, first open up from the onset, you see the roles switch, because up to this point, Bella has always controlled the room. And all of a sudden that completely turns on its head. And in my notes, I say, okay, first off, hello, sexual tension. Nice to meet you.
Yep.
I think it's really interesting seeing Bella's reaction, because she's normally one of the people that is very serious the whole time. Even in a past episode when Kieran was shot, she still was totally cool about it and didn't make much reaction. And I'm wondering what her role really is to make her so almost afraid.
I mean, I think let's save all the speculations after we get to their whole interaction, because, then we'll have the complete information. But oh my gosh, yeah, so many questions. Oh, Bella is just shocked. We have this nice, great aerial view of her being shocked. Another close-up of her being shocked. Then she slams the door shut and turns around to face the door. She needs time to compose herself. Like, she can't even face Darcy yet. I mean, there's several shots. She goes, ba-dump. Her eyes are wide open. She looks stunning. So, like, just gorgeous. And she inhales. And then there's another ba-dump and another inhale. And after two of those, then she can turn around and face Darcy and say, what are you doing here? And she tries to put on her, strong front that she usually has. But it took her 2 breaths to do that.
I think they just wanted to put the lip color. I'm here for the lip color. I just focused on that.
Lip pillar?
Color. Yeah.
Color, yeah. Yes, I never wear lipstick, but it sure looks good on people who do. So, I mean, yeah, she looks fantastic. And her home is, I'm also, I looked at the style of the home decor because I'm curious, and I'm kind of assuming that she set it up herself. Like, it looks like it's her caravan that she probably takes with her when the circus travels. Yeah. It's, quite elegant. It's lined with wood. There's a comfortable couch, a dresser, rugs. It looks very cozy. So it's nice to see that, that she has a home of her own. Just, I don't know if she sleeps here or lives here all the time, but at least when she's with the circus, she has a really nice place to be.
It looks like she cares about where she lives, or at least she's put in effort, which I don't know what that says about her, but I mean, I think it would create a different narrative if it was just the bare minimum, like bed, maybe a rug, stack of stuff in the corner. You know what I'm saying?
I think when a person puts effort into first of all, the fact that she has enough time and money to do so, that's and they look like it's quite decent, the furnishings, but also it's self-respect, and it's caring about yourself. One of the big things that we talk about with Midnight Poppyland is that Tora's apartment is very bare and unfurnished and undecorated because he doesn't care about himself. He doesn't feel he deserves a nice home. But she does seem to have enough, quite a healthy amount of self-confidence and self-love where she wants to live in a nice place and feels she deserves it.
Yeah.
But yeah, and also time, because I know from firsthand experience, if you are busy running from job to job, you have no time to focus on your home. So she has enough time to set up a nice home that's clean and well taken care of.
What if Darcy cleaned up when she got there?
What if it was a pigsty, right? Before
folded all the clothes. Where'd she put her dress? She's there in her under thing. Where did
I know, right?
I have a feeling. I think this is the New Year's party that happened the same night as this. I assume she might have left around maybe 1 o'clock in the morning and had time. This maybe around 3 o'clock, maybe very early morning. So where she had time to go home and change it to something more comfortable. Or this was like an underdress underneath her.
It looks
Main
like
dress.
an underdress.
Does, yeah. And which would make her wearing it even more shocking. And I think a reference to some possible previous relationship where she's like, hey, you remember me like this? You know, it's one thing to show up to, you know, to somebody that you maybe were in a relationship with in clothes, but to show up in your like pajamas. Yeah. That's why I was wondering what.
I said, just imagine you have a past with somebody and then you walk into your house unsuspecting and they're sitting there in their underwear.
Mm-hmm. That is a message. Oh yes. But I was really wondering if what Soph and F meant by her outfit, because it does look like under things, but I think maybe to people who don't know Victorian clothing so well, they might think it's a regular dress, but I'm assuming Soph and F like did their research before they drew this costume, this outfit. You know, I mean, the collar doesn't look like it, but the rest of it does look like it's like an undergarment.
Looks like a shift. Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Oh goodness. Yeah. You know, it's funny because when you say like that you think it's 3 a.m, my whole body starts hurting when you say that 3 a.m, and that's because like I'm old and I can't stay up that late anymore, although I used to, like until fairly recently. But I'm like, no, she left the party early and she came here right away. It's still midnight because this way she doesn't have to be up so late. Like my heart wants them to get enough sleep.
This is Purple Hyacinth. No one is sleeping.
I know, it's terrible. I used to be like a very, very, very late sleeper. I would regularly sleep at 2, 3 and, you know, wake up and work a 9 to 5. And it was terrible. Like, I don't know how I did it. So Darcy finally, you know, she's like, it's been a long time, Bella. Is this any way to greet an old friend? Oh my goodness. You know, you remember how like when we first met Kieran, we were like, oh, that man is, like you said, you know, everyone's like, such a punchable face. Like how, you know, he's just like, he takes the irony of the situation and totally ignores it, just downplays everything and makes everything out to be like this humorous joke. And that's what Darcy is doing here too. Just completely not validating her reaction and her feelings and pretending that there's nothing wrong with me just showing up in your house.
And I'm kind of a little torn because my first impression of Darcy was that she was a good, or at least somewhat maybe morally gray, but kind of on the, you know, the better side of that, the good side of that. And now we see her there and she's like, she knows how to play the field, and you can see Bella flinch. And part of me is like, why did she flinch? Reminder of the past, or did she just get friend zoned and that's why she flinched?
Ow. Yeah. You know, I never thought I would feel for Bella much, but I feel for her. Ouch.
Bella's actually one of my favorite characters, up there with the main 4.
Okay.
I've
Let's hear.
always liked her a lot mostly because she's like a woman and the Phantom Scythe, let alone one of the top spots for all the assassins, meaning she probably had to work much harder than a lot of the other people would have. And I don't want to excuse what she's done because she has done really bad things and seems to almost enjoy it. But I think that it's more, I'm not sure how to say this, more like I can respect her a bit more because she seems to have worked really hard to get there.
Fwoot has this theory that maybe Bella, like Kieran, also doesn't really like what she's doing and is just pretending to. So if she's pretending to like it and she's also just being like, oh my God, I love killing people, you know, to throw everyone off and to just like put up a strong front, then I can have sympathy for her. But I mean, so until this episode, I didn't see any kind of human behavior from her. I just saw her being slick and, you know, casual and caustic. So, but again, totally willing to absorb a new element and a new side to Bella. Very happy to see it.
It'd be cool to accept that, but I don't know what I would think about 2 characters or 2 assassins in this story kind of having the same moral dilemma. I think it would be more compelling if it was maybe not she had guilty about killing, but maybe guilt about something else to make her just different from Kieran in a way. I feel like if you have the same narrative for them both, I don't know. I don't know if that would work quite as well. but I like to see any character be redeemable, really.
Yeah.
But I don't think it's the same deal. I really don't. Maybe I'm wrong, but
Yeah, I mean, but even if she isn't remorseful, I could definitely see the attraction to like the femme fatale, the powerful, capable
Yeah.
woman. I mean, it's very alluring, and there's a lot to admire, even if, yeah, like where you're admiring is her proficiency at murdering people. So, but it's you know, it's not uncommon for people to look to be impressed by that,
yeah.
and especially looking, you know, smoking hot doing it. So.
Hey.
Yeah. So yeah, when I was talking about like the self-respect portion with her house, I mean, you can see it in how she takes care of herself too. She always looks great. She takes care of her body, her appearance, and that's also a sign of someone who is sufficiently self-loving to present that to the world. So anyway, after that flinch, Darcy does finally have one human like admission where she turns aside, puts the teacup down, and says, "If we still are friends anyway." To me, that was, she had a little bit of a sad look on her face when she said that. Did you guys read it that way? Oh, and she said, "After you disappeared 2 years ago."
Yeah.
So, yeah, to me, it seems like she's sad, and she's kind of accusing her of, "Why did you leave me 2 years ago?"
I think
I
it's. Go ahead, Em.
I have one reason, but it has to do with something further along in the episode.
Okay.
I'll mention it when it comes up.
Okay. My only thought that I got from here is from Bella's reaction, we kind of get the idea that I did anyway. I got the implication that maybe Bella abandoned Darcy, but then she's kind of like the other way around. She's like, "Are we still friends?" And the person that usually asks that is usually the one who did the wrong. So I'm like, the other way, maybe the flip side is true. Darcy abandoned Bella, either by her own choice or not by her own choice. But that's kind of the first inclination that I got, is she feels regret. She does, maybe. But there's also like, I don't know what that can say about that character. You know, those people that apologize, but they're apologizing just so they can get in your good graces again. That same manipulative kind of speech and narrative. I don't know if that's what she's going for or if she's genuine here.
I hear that. She does seem to be manipulative on the surface of it. And you know what Bella says afterwards does give weight to what you said, because she's like, "Did you never think there was a reason, Nera?" And she has this accusatory, angry look on her face. So it looks like there was a reason for her disappearance, whether it had to do with anything that Darcy did or whether it had to do with something that Bella had to leave for whatever reason.
And the 2 years is like 2 years ago. And we know recently Kieran disappeared as well. And I kind of wonder, did that happen at the same time? Did they both disappear at the same time? It seems like there's a blank missing in the timeline, kind of fairly recently, where a lot of our main characters just kind of went poof. We don't know a lot about that timeline. But someone checked. I don't know if it's somewhere listed in the comic about how long Kieran was gone or when he was gone. I don't know.
No, I remember looking for it. It doesn't say how long he's been gone.
Okay. So maybe it coincides. Maybe, I don't know. Maybe he was running missions with Bella. I have no idea.
Well, he definitely did at least one mission with Bella that we've seen.
Yeah.
So, but that seemed to have been earlier, because she calls him the new recruit then. So Darcy gets up, and we see just her beautiful long flowing hair, which also, I mean, if we're going to go with Victorian-ish standards, that was quite intimate to let your hair down. And she says, I sure hope there is a reason, right? And then Bella just asks her, "Why are you here?" And Darcy walks towards her. She doesn't walk, she saunters towards her. She sallies.
Those hips are moving.
Right? And she's tossing her hair. I mean, she's doing everything she can to be attractive, in my opinion. Or also like a power play.
Yeah, no question about who is controlling the room at this point. It's all Darcy.
Yeah. And she says, she doesn't answer her question, which is another power play. She says, "You're not easy to find, And it's kind of like, also, it's like accusing her of being hard to find. It's like, you made it hard for me to find you. It's again, it's that twisty, edgy behavior where it's like putting her down, blaming her for something, making it your fault that I couldn't find you.
I mean, Bella had to learn it, her attitude from somewhere. Could she have learned it by being influenced by Darcy?
Maybe. And she says, you're almost never with the circus. Okay, which is interesting. And you're completely untraceable the rest of the time, which again, I think shows Bella's skill. Presumably she's doing assassin stuff or whatever else she's doing besides for assassin stuff, but she doesn't want to be found. And that's interesting. And she's good at not wanting to be found, good at hiding.
But it kind of makes me wonder, because we've already bumped into her a lot. Like Kieran found her quite easily several times.
Maybe Darcy isn't that bright after all, who knows? And she is just walking closer, and she walks so close to her. And not only does she walk like right up to her face, she puts her hands on top of her and traps her between her and the door. My gosh, that is intimidation 101. Yeah, and as Meg is showing us, steamy as well.
I mean, hello? Yeah, I mean, sexual tension, he's there. He never left the room. Still there.
Yeah. But also very, very intimidating. I mean, she is tall. She's as tall as Bella is, and Bella's wearing heels. So Darcy seems to be a little taller than her. And I mean, it's just like she's trapping her there. That's extremely intimidating. And Bella is holding her own. But now that I finally found you, I need your help. And she starts to take her hat off of the coat rack where she just put it, you know, she's like, oh, my hat, just gonna put it down. And now Bella says something interesting. She's like, oh, and how could a commoner like me be of any help to you? So, princess. So, first of all, we learned that Bella considers herself to be a commoner, and that she considers there to be a social difference between her and Bella and Darcy. But why does she call her a princess?
You can hear the bitterness. Like I just, there's venom in that. I just know there is. If we can hear it, it's just like princess. It's an insult. It's not meant as any other way.
Right. So she's conscious of like the social difference between them. You know, sometimes people who are in different social classes are like, whatever, I don't care. This social class stuff is nonsense and I'm just as good as everyone else. But she's conscious of it. Like she feels bad about it, you know, because if it didn't bother her, she wouldn't say it. Like she would just be like, oh, why'd you leave me or whatever. She would be angry at her for those reasons. But the fact that she's mentioning it with that anger means it bothers her.
And I mean, these are all my personal headcanons or theories or whatever, and there might not be anything to like back them up or whatever, but like I get these vibes that Kieran, Bella, Darcy, all these people, they had a common thread linking them in the past, and I don't think it was a circus. I think it was something else. But they all, I think they were all kind of relatively from the same background. They all could relate to each other, and I can kind of like see them all kind of maybe sitting in a circle talking about their lot in the world and where their fates just led them, and they all kind of being in agreement over, you know, how unhappy they are about it, how it's wrong, the people they're mad at. And then you take that little, you know, teenage or childhood argument and everybody changes places, and now you have two people that are stuck in this world still, and then you have Darcy, which somehow moved out of it. And I mean, I would be like, you hypocrite. That would be my attitude.
You're thinking that Darcy wasn't born noble?
No, I'm getting very strong adoption vibes.
Building off of that, I'm remembering this one theory that I read last night when the episode came out that I've kind of built off of my own a little bit. And was that Darcy and Bella, and then probably Kieran, if Bella was adopted, were all orphans. And why Bella might be so bitter towards her is because Darcy was chosen for something that she wasn't. So to be taken in by a richer family. And I think that would really explain why Bella would be so bitter towards her, is because that is a very big thing. I think it is pretty possible.
I mean, I don't know if it's been written down there, but as far as my thinking has gone, I haven't really put it out there much, but there was a leader or Phantom Scythe orphanage run at one point or another. or controlled or somehow like that, I would not be surprised in the least, especially with the themes of all these children missing and then children being used for violent purposes. I wouldn't be surprised if there was some kind of like boarding school or orphanage where they grew up, they were brainwashed and literally set on this path from childhood. And Darcy managed to somehow find a different way. And I mean, whether it was by her choice or not, but I kind of, that's my current headcanon. So
Very plausible. So next she says, she's like, what could you, how could I possibly be helpful to you? And then she says, just like last time, only this time I need to escape. So that is the question. What is last time and what does she need to escape? So we're almost done with this. So let's just finish up the last couple panels here and then we'll talk about it. And she starts handing her a note that says, it's a folded note. It says NED, which presumably stands for Nera Lena Darcy. And she says, here's a location we can meet again. Bella pushes her hand aside. She wants nothing to do with this. She's like, escape from what? The dull and boring life privilege, again, with that bitterness. And she says, a life I never chose. You of all people should know how that feels. And that's when she's finally being sincere. She's not being manipulative or hiding her feelings or, being intimidating.
mm-hmm.
And Bella is receptive. She listens, she flinches. They have strong eye contact. Then Darcy looks away and okay. Oh, I guess, yeah, let's just finish up the panels. Bella's asked her, so you did all of this to help to find me, just to help you escape, and she puts it in quotation marks. Sounds like a reach. And they're at that point their faces are like super close together, very intimate. And she says dear, which is I think some kind of ironic thing. And then Darcy says, I guess so. She pushes her, she shrugs away, she takes her coat. How entertaining. And then Bella pushes her away. She says, don't come back here, hands her her coat, says, I don't want to see you, and dashes out and slams the door. Leaves Darcy looking at the door. So what do you guys say about that?
So much there. Also, I don't think she's looking away in that panel. You watch, it's eye contact.
Oh, sorry. Yeah.
I drop down and then I drop up. She's looking at the lips. She's looking at the lips.
Lips? Oh, I thought she was looking at her boobs. Sorry. But...
or the boobs, yeah. One or the other. Like distraction.
Yeah. So what do you think is going on here? What does Darcy want? What happened last time? Their interaction, Bella's anger at Darcy. What do you think is happening?
Emma, do you want to go first or?
I have a theory, which I can say now, I think, is it's even though it wouldn't fit in with the 2 years thing,
Mm-hmm.
I have a suspicion that something might have happened with Bella and Darcy, and the arranged marriage with Will may have interfered with that. And so I'm not sure when this was planned between the parents. We know that Will found out not very long ago, but Darcy may have known a long time ago, depending on when they arranged it. If she was to say found out 2 years ago, Darcy could have distanced herself from Bella just to avoid more things. It would not end well. Like, that might be a possibility, but I'm not really sure as to why.
So it would have to do a lot with what is Darcy's backstory. And as you were talking, I was thinking, so like 2 possibilities. Either one, she was adopted off the streets and into a noble family, or she was always part of the noble family. And perhaps like her parents maybe had involvement in Snapdragon or somewhat connection to where Darcy and Bella could have interacted. Or maybe it was a hat meeting or something like that. But I mean, and there has to be way back there. But how else could a noble girl meet, a little match girl from the alleys? I don't know. Like,
right. I'm thinking that they met, however they met, we don't know. but that
Mhm.
maybe there was you know, a connection between them, a love connection. And then maybe Bella was getting mistreated by Darcy. Maybe Darcy was like, I can never be with you because you're not my class. Or maybe her parents were giving her that line. So maybe Bella just got frustrated and said, you know, you don't love me enough to stay with me. I'm going to leave you. Maybe. But I don't know. Or it could be something more connected to like more action plotty oriented.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, what did she need her help from last time? Like, so some people were like, oh, she's here to hire her to do what Bella does, which is assassin stuff. But I don't know. She never mentions assassin. I don't think she didn't mention that, like, oh, I know you're an assassin the rest of the time. I don't know if Darcy knows she's an assassin. Also, honestly, that would be pretty extreme to hire an assassin to kill Will, some people were saying, or you know, her parents. That's pretty extreme. Like, there's better and easier ways to escape an arranged marriage or a coerced or like highly encouraged marriage than to kill people. You know, like it's a pretty extreme step. And she doesn't mention that she knows Bella is an assassin. I just don't know if she knows that.
I don't know how she couldn't though. I mean, especially with knowing as much as she does know about her, how could she not know about her little hobby?
Hi, Fwoot.
Hello, I'm so sorry about how late I am.
No problem. You came just when we're finishing discussing where we finished summarizing the Darcy thing. So I was like, oh no, but Fwoot's gonna miss Darcy. This is terrible. But you're here, so we can discuss Darcy all together.
I'm not sure if you'd like my thoughts at the end or like when you'd like them.
We're
Sorry,
here to
I'm
hear it.
gonna reread because honestly, I had no idea what was happening. I won't lie. I was scared during that. Like, we've never seen Bella like that. I have no idea what you guys have said, so I'm so sorry if I'm repeating things.
No, we basically said we were discussing, yeah, I mean, the extreme, like Bella's reaction and how Darcy is so emotionally overpowering here and she's intimidating her. We discussed like what was their history, what was their potential background, and what did she, now we're getting to the part where like, what does she want from her now?
Okay.
So yeah, so
I
take
see.
a, you know, share your thoughts. Let's hear.
Sorry if I like go on a complete tangent. I wish I was here earlier. Again, I'm so sorry.
Don't worry about it. It's okay.
I don't really know if I'm not entirely set on whether Darcy knows that Bella is PS or not. What do you guys think?
Yeah,
We
we were
just
literally
talked
just
about it.
discussing that. I said I don't know if Darcy knows that Bella's an assassin because she hasn't mentioned it. And you know, I was like, I don't know if she is hiring her to be an assassin because like it's an extreme step to take, right? To get out of a arranged marriage, a coerced marriage, like there are easier ways to get out of it. So I don't, and then she didn't, I don't know, I don't get the impression she knows that she's an assassin.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking because essentially Darcy mentions the circus, but she doesn't mention the Phantom Scythe at all, like when she's talking about Bella disappearing. And also because Darcy mentions the circus, I would guess that that's how they met at some point through Redcliffe with Bella and then Darcy's parents for Darcy. Like, because Redcliffe, my guess is that he took the circus kids in as sort of his own, it seems. And so he would take them to like high events, sort of like the New Year's party that we saw, and he would bring along the circus performers.
Oh, that's a
So-
cool theory. So they met somehow through those events.
Yeah, so like through those events, they would sort of like New Year's party. That's how like Bella and Darcy initially met, or maybe some backstage thing since Darcy has money and like some backstage thing got offered when she was a lot younger, and she got to meet some of the younger circus performers back then too. So that's what I was thinking for my guess her backstory. And it's obvious that the two kept in touch over the years, it seems like. So there's a lot of room for backstory there.
Yes, I mean, it seems like it's based on the tension between them. It seems like there's been a lot more than just keep in touch. Like they were not mere acquaintances.
Mm-hmm.
I don't think I'm not completely on board with the idea that she doesn't know that she's an assassin of some sorts, mainly because, and maybe it wasn't mentioned, but I feel like this is a more personal conversation and it's got little to do with their careers. It's strictly personal for both of them. Like, it's a very intimate conversation. So maybe that's why it wasn't mentioned, but it could really be either way at this point. So
Oh yeah, I totally agree. I'm like 50-50 on this. I'm hoping that she doesn't know, because I think there like a scene where Nair finds out that Bella is actually an assassin would be really cool, because I think she suspects it but doesn't actually know,
Interesting.
like for certain.
And the
So-
whole how Bella would act with someone who wasn't an assassin or even knew what her job was. Like, if Nair had no idea that she was in the Phantom Scythe, I'm wondering how different she would act. And we could really see sort of, because I have a suspicion that the way that she behaves is, even if it's not a huge one, still a front.
Oh yeah, definitely. Okay,
So it would
we're-
be interesting to
oh,
see
sorry.
how she acts with someone who she doesn't have to put a front up.
So I'm rereading right now. And the Darcy's line where she says, "You're not easy to find. You're almost never with the circus and completely untraceable the rest of the time." The latter line kind of implies that Darcy doesn't know what Bella is doing. And while it doesn't, which is mainly why I'm like, does she know if Bella's in the Phantom Scythe or not? Because completely untraceable the rest of the time means that like she has no idea what Bella's doing, and it's kind of obvious to us, the audience, that during that untraceable time, she is doing Phantom Scythe things. So it would also explain Bella's fear, like in the last chapter and in this chapter, because this girl just completed 3 murders and she comes home to see an old friend. I'm going to say that with quotations, because they seem to be a little bit more than friends.
would it be too much on the nose to call them an old match or an old flame? Would that be too much?
Oh no. Oh boy.
I don't
So,
know.
yeah.
Only reason because Darcy is, I mean, we know she's a noble. Currently is a noble. And how Kieran said in that one chapter that the underground is like, if you don't know it, it's impossible to find things down there. So maybe just Darcy doesn't know the underground, so she wouldn't have any idea where to look first. And I mean, that place has a reputation, so maybe she knew that she couldn't even step foot in there. So maybe that's why she couldn't go find her, just because she already knew it would be, losing game.
Oh, that's true. That's a good point.
My notes on here was the last on it, as far as that scene goes, was just the tail end of that conversation, the way Bella just shoved, she basically runs. The whole time, it's like the little pokes, the little sassy comebacks that she does, they feel kind of weak, and it looks like she's trying to get the upper hand in the conversation. You see her vulnerability, you see some buried pain in there, and you see that Darcy struck a chord. And for the first time, like, it feels like Bella just wants to run from it, and in the end she does. And I don't think there's a lot of oomph in that sarcastic deer. I think it was kind of hollow. I think she was kind of trying or reaching a bit.
Yeah.
It gives me sort of, I won't lie. Oh, sorry. It gives me like Kieran at the beginning of season 2 vibes almost.
Yeah.
Like he still uses the names. I don't remember if he uses the names, but I think he does. He like still uses the names, but they're not how they use like the pet names, like Darling. I'm not sure if he used Darling.
Yeah.
I honestly have no remember, but if he was still using the pet names during that time, it like gives me that vibe, like he's not using them the same way he used to, and they're a lot more I don't know, even vicious, I guess, or just what Meg said, hollow.
Yeah. A couple times even, I think he like apologized right after. He was like, sorry.
Yeah, I totally agree with your assessment of Bella and her feelings. She cannot tolerate this Darcy appearing in her life again. And yeah, I mean, she shoves her out and runs away. Totally agree. And at that point where she tells her, "Don't ever come back here. I don't want to see you." Darcy, for the first time, looks vulnerable in that pose. She has her eyes open. She looks a little bit wounded. And to me, it's the first time one of the first times really we're seeing a genuine reaction from Darcy, where she's not just trying to be in control of the situation emotionally. So it looks like Darcy is also impacted by Bella's rejection of her.
Mhm.
What
That-
is their history?
Should-
Oh
is
my
it alright if I
goodness.
like go down the if it can I go down the scene to just like give my thoughts if that's all right?
Yeah.
Since I missed it earlier. Again, I'm so sorry about
Sure.
that.
No.
Okay, so it's not a far jump again to say that these two were romantically involved of some sort. Like maybe they never actually like gave it that sort of title, but when we see Bella in this, there is that very thin panel of Bella where it's at her chest. And that's, where the heart is. So like, and her heart is the thing that's like bumping right now. And last time we saw this, it was Lila with Lucas. So it's an interesting parallel. She slams the door, or it seems like she slams the door. It's a bit of a clack, but the panel suggests otherwise. So it's like she doesn't want to be seen. It's I would guess that most people are unaware of Darcy's association with the circus, and it is entirely possible that other Pantheon members are completely unaware of the two's relationship. So she got in the moment that she catches herself and she's like, what are like she reads in and suddenly she's not as visibly panicked anymore. And she has her facade on where she's the dark, cold assassin. She's like, what are you doing here? I thought that was interesting because we just came out of like the most vulnerable we've ever seen Bella. And just in a moment, in a snap, she's able to completely flip the tables. And over the next scene, it's basically the two sort of fighting for control over. I'm not sure how to word my words because it could be taken completely wrong, but the two are sort of fighting for control in this very emotional scene. And it's really well drawn and written by both Soph and F, because usually in PH a lot of we get a lot of emotional scenes and they're just absolutely gorgeous works of art, but they're a lot more sort of pronounced in their emotion and they're a lot more expressive and you can really feel the characters' emotions. And yet in this, the characters aren't as, I guess, dramatic. They aren't as expressive in how they're feeling. And yet we're still able to feel the emptiness and just the space between these two people. And that's amazing. Like that's some really great writing. And I guess I'm not I want to say camera work, but that's not really the same thing. I guess art history expressing it through art. I'm not sure.
Yeah, some people
Um,
do use the word camera view, lens perspective, because I mean, it's just the easiest way to describe it.
yeah. It's been a long time. Darcy in that panel, like she looks a little happy. I don't know if it's like a front, but I'd like to think that she's sort of happy to see Bella. And is this a way to greet an old friend? So we know they have history. And if Darcy is involved with Bella, it is even possible that she might be involved with Kieran to some extent, which I find interesting. I don't think I don't think she's the protectee that people have been theorizing that she is, because Bella probably would have had more of a reaction to thinking about her, like because she was the one who brought it up as well. So seeing this reaction from Bella mean like seeing how scared she is, I don't think she would just randomly bring sort of mention of Darcy into conversation so casually as she did back in the 70s arc.
So
And
you think Kieran might have a connection to Darcy as well?
it is possible. I think it would be more possible if we had confirmation that Kieran was in the circus, but for now, like if they had like maybe a friend group of sorts, he was third wheeling them the whole time.
Gotcha. That just makes me think after this whole story, after the whole Purple Hyacinth story is done, somebody needs to write a alternate universe fan fiction of the party scene, and Lauren brings Kieran as her +1 and everybody's reaction once we know who's who.
Oh
I need
yeah.
to see that.
Oh my god, that would be hilarious. Um, okay, so if we are still friends anyways, after you disappeared 2 years ago, and the first thing I thought of when I read that was like, oh no, is this the same as like when Kieran disappeared? Did the two mutually disappear or something? Like, were they, and if Kieran was like, um, off seas, was Bella also off seas, or was she just like training in the Phantom Scythe? Because Dorothy has money, so I wouldn't be surprised if she maybe like filed for a missing persons report or something, or just even got like a private investigator on the case. Like, it doesn't seem too far-fetched, but
That would, if she had done that, that would show how close they were.
mhm. So it seems like Darcy had no idea up until recently that Bella was around. So yeah, I do think that maybe Bella had joined Kieran, but then it doesn't make sense with like when they meet up at the bar in season one, like when Kieran's like, "Oh, it's you again," and Bella's like, "Oh, it's been a long time no see." So that's just something I find interesting as well.
I feel, I don't know, I don't feel like Bella and Kieran worked together overseas.
Yeah,
I feel
more I
like whatever
think
they
about
did, it
it.
was unconnected.
Yeah, the more I think about it, the more far-fetched it seems. Uh, so yeah, Bella is still in this facade. She's doing pretty well, I'd say. She also returns the single first name, like the 5-letter first name. Darcy's very comfortable, it seems. Like, I'm still latching on to that headcanon that she did not bring that teapot. That teapot completely belongs to Bella, and she just made her tea right at home.
Yeah, I think that makes sense
Um,
too.
Oh, and this is one of my favorite parts of the episode that we're approaching up on. So Darcy says, "You are not easy to find, you know," and I really hope that we get to see how Darcy found Bella. It may have been, my guess right now is Darcy found Bella because Bella showed up at one of the new circus performances, like because we saw her the other day when Sand, like the whole chaotic 70s arc, she was technically at the circus, so people may have been talking about how, oh hey, Hestia is back, and Darcy may have like heard and picked up on it and been like, oh heck, Bella's back in town.
Yeah.
So I would guess that like Bella coming back into the spotlight did propel her back into a little bit of fame, and she has to be a little bit more careful now if she's going to be spotted in her work. But because she was also propelled back into relevance, that was how Darcy was able to figure out she's back.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Especially since she brings up the circus first, like, you're not easy to find, you know, and then she brings up you're almost never with the circus. So like it would make sense if she found her through circus means.
Either way, she must know about the circus. So maybe
Mhm.
she does know. Because I assume that there are plenty of Phantom Scythe people that work for the Phantom Scythe in the circus. And I
Mhm.
think the circus kind of provides people and assassins for the Phantom Scythe. So I'm wondering if maybe Darcy does know.
Good point. Maybe.
Yeah.
We have a question for you. Do you think that what Darcy is wearing is are her underclothes?
From the party?
No, meaning we're thinking it looks like a shift, like it doesn't, it looks like a, you know, an undergarment. And in which case it would make her showing up in her like lingerie basically very impactful and imply something about their previous relationship. Or do you think it's a regular dress, just a little more simple?
Oh God, I actually don't know. I was thinking about it. Like, I was like, wow, that looks very like nightgownish. Like Lauren has her nightgown, and this looks like the Darcy equivalent of that nightgown. And of course, like Lauren wouldn't wear that nightgown out in the public, but this isn't really public. So I'm not entirely sure, I won't lie, especially since the style in our tallest, like the fashion style, seems to be more a mix of mid 19th century with even a mix of like mid 20th century, whereas Darcy, her fashion sense seems to be late 19th century, which I found a little bit interesting because like Lauren, she wears more like 1850s, 1860s style dresses, whereas Darcy is like completely, she's well into like the 1880s ish, if I got my fashion history right, sometime around then. And I found that really interesting because the silhouettes of her dresses are just so drastic and compared to Lauren's. Like even at the party, Lauren still has that sort of bell-shaped dress, whereas Darcy's dress is much more like, I'm not sure, like rectangular in silhouette because it's not rectangular, but the dress is slicker. I'm not sure how to describe it. It doesn't have
I don't
more
know the
pronounced
fashion phrases that
curves.
well.
Yeah.
I've looked them up several times, but I couldn't describe them.
It's skinnier. So like the dress does not seem to be very thick. It's definitely not built like her party dress. And it's not the undergarment that she was wearing. Because she was wearing an art undergarment that I could imagine being very similar to this dress, but if and I can see this dress being another one of those undergarments as well. Because in her blue dress, she had the blue dress itself, but she also had that I'm assuming it was a two-piece thing. She also had the like sort of shirt thing and the sleeves, which was underneath that, and it was made of a completely different fabric. So I can see this thing being sort of the same because of the collar. There's a arc or there's like a little arc thing. It I'm not I don't think "bit" is the right word. Um, but yeah, there's like a little circular thing right under the sort of collar
Right,
thing.
the neckline, you mean, right?
Yeah,
It looks
the
like it's a
neckline.
dickie. A dickie is like basically it's just the shirt and this part, and you put it underneath, like if you're wearing a sweater or whatever. So yeah, it does look like a dickie to me.
Yeah, so I can imagine like a dress sitting like right on top of it, like fitting it there. But then also there's a lot of structure. Like it doesn't look like it, but there is structure to
Yeah.
that top. It it looks like a shirt dress. It's easier to see in some of the panels than others, but I think probably the best panel is the You're Almost Never with the Circus panel because like you
Yeah.
get the full thing.
Hmm.
There, it looks like her dress, like if you look at the top and if you look at the where it cuts off at the waist, that could be like a full-on shirt. And then the rest of it is just um pretty much unstructured skirt, which gives it that sort of loose, more casual, like super casual look. Because but if we just looked at the style of the top, I would guess it's just super casual wear instead of complete nightgown.
Really
Because
had
I don't
super
know, I guess
casual.
sleeping in that sort of collar, that dress shirt collar would be really uncomfortable.
Like, to me, it looks like it's something you can remove on and off. Like the rest of it looks like a nightgown to me, and then the shirt looks like a dickie that you add.
Oh yeah, that could be
Anyway.
true.
Well,
Yeah,
it
I
kind
can
of
see
looks
that.
like a shift to me, that thing that ladies would wear underneath their corsets. Like it would be that protective layer. That way, when things tighten around in the shaper and everything like that, it would actually go underneath the corset. And it kind of looks, I don't know if she was wearing a corset under that dress, but if she was, she would have taken the dress and then the corset off, and then that would have been underneath, which accounts for the structure around the bodice area. But I'm not an expert, so I have no idea.
Yeah, same. I don't have any qualifications to talk about it, but it's a question that stumps me. I won't lie.
if that's the case, how did she get that corset off? That's what I want to know.
Someone else or one of her servants, right?
Who brought her here? Like, that's also what I'm wondering. Like, did she ride her horse over? Is there like a horse behind the little house thing?
If it is her underwear, she put a coat over her undergarments and then ran through the streets of Ardalis to find to find Bella. I mean,
Yeah, they're also still in winter, so it seems a bit. It doesn't seem like the best choice on her part if she was
Call
wearing
that
undergarments. Like, she's fashionable and she knows like what to. She knows what to wear, obviously, from the parties. It seems like. So.
confidence. She knows she looks fabulous in anything.
Mhm.
So.
Well, I think to me, like if she's showing up in her undergarments, it's basically some kind of way of shocking Bella because it looks like they had, some romantic, stuff going on between them. So it's a way of saying, of shocking them, like showing up. It's like your ex, like you were saying, Meg, your ex showing up in your living room in their underwear. It's a way of getting at them. Like this is what we used to be.
Power move.
The thing probably again, like what gets me most is that it is winter time in Artalis right now. Like they're like smack dab in the middle of or early January. So like I'm not sure if like sure Darcy could probably get a really great reaction out of Bella for coming in undergarments, but I don't think it would be very functional or just efficient if she did because although she has the coat, undergarments aren't like they aren't always super thick, and a lot of the warmth when it comes to like winter clothing does come from like the outside layers. And so and although it seems like winters in Artalis are pretty mild, Darcy, I don't think she would just show up in undergarments. She knows what weather's like in Artalis, and so he would want to dress accordingly. So the scene that I was thinking that just completely caught my attention and just had me enamored was the scene where Darcy walks up to Bella and they're very close, like very, very close. And she's like, but now that I finally found you, I need your help. And Bella says, oh, and how could a commoner like me be any help to you? And that I noticed sort of sets up a very big conflict in their relationship that I imagine is the main conflict or one of the main conflicts. They have a lot going on. One of the main conflicts that they probably faced before this as well was that they come from completely different places. Darcy is a rich socialite with a ton of money, and Bella is, just some commoner, a circus performer, literally from the streets. And it could be used to draw some parallels to Kiwi almost. Like, I never thought I would say Bella has parallels with Kim, but here's the day. So I could see that issue being dealt on in the future because all of our main ships so far, except maybe like Pakistan and Lula, so like Kiwi, Loki, and Belarsi, they all have a class conflict between them. I'm not sure how pronounced it will be in Loki because Kieran's current class is pretty obscure, I won't lie. But he is teaching Lauren about it. So that is where the class war does come into play. But Lauren is also under a lot less expectations. So they have a lot more freedom and a lot more space to move about and how they develop their relationship. However, Kiwi and Belarsi obviously do not and did not. And Bella seems to have had some very real contempt for it that
That was
like
my theory as well, that maybe the reason that Bella was angry at her or had to leave 2 years ago was because there was no way that they could be together because of their class.
Mhm.
Or because maybe Darcy wasn't willing to, I don't know, abandon her family to be with her. Maybe she wasn't willing to stand up against her parents. And Bella felt offended by that. She's like, do you love your parents more than me or whatever? So I thought that might have been what why she left 2 years ago.
Ooh, I
Who
love
knows?
that
Yeah,
actually,
complete with a twist.
because I personally like on that issue, like the whole like leaving someone for someone else. I think I've mentioned this before. Like I sort of make it that my opinions on that, like I've talked about it with like that whole like the O4 leave on a train at the end of the story theory. Honestly, I would love if they brought that issue to the spotlight because my personal standing is you shouldn't be expected to leave someone else, like someone like really important to you for someone else. Like uh, Darcy may not like be under the best circumstances, but if she seems to genuinely like her family, especially her grandma, at least like mainly her grandma. So I don't think it would be fair to ask someone who's important to you to leave someone else that's really important to them, like for your love. If that makes sense, like you shouldn't. I don't think it's healthy to ask someone that you yourself love to leave someone else that they love because in my opinion, if you really love them, you wouldn't put them through that sort of emotional torment of having to choose.
So, I hear you, and I don't know if you read about it in the Discord yesterday, but I had a similar situation with my husband. My parents expect me to marry a guy from a similar background that I came from, and I didn't want to, and I told them that for years, and they were like, "No, no, you'll grow up, you'll get over it, you'll see the lights." And then I met my husband, and I was like, "I'm marrying him," and they were extremely upset. I was 20 at the time, extremely upset, and they were never going to talk to me again. But I didn't feel it wasn't at all a case of like my husband was saying, "Oh, choose between your parents and me." I was like, I'd been telling my parents for years that I was never going to marry someone they wanted me to marry. And when I finally met the man I did want to marry, I was like, okay, I'm doing this, whether you like it or not. It was completely my choice. So yeah, so that was, I mentioned it in reference to Will and his conflict, but I totally agree with you. Like it's not at all an easy choice. And it is hard to, in terms of if you can expect someone else to do that for you, I agree. Can you? Not necessarily. That person has to want to do it.
Like if we put it in terms of the Bell RC, uh, ship, I would guess that Bella was trying to get Darcy to leave behind her old life and come run away with her. And Darcy obviously did not. She's still here, so she obviously did not want to leave, like in the series, because she has her grandmother who's still around, and she probably wants to care for her grandma and spend time with her before her grandma leaves. So I can imagine that being a huge emotional conflict for them, where Bella's begging her to leave with her and to escape to some far off nation where they don't have to worry about the circus and they don't have to worry about social standards and being rich and having money. They can just be themselves and they can love one another like without any restrictions and without any expectations coming from them. And so Darcy in turn didn't react well to that because she has a life here in Nartalis that she wants in some way a bit that she wants to hold on to, and there it that conflict did not turn out well for them. Ella ended up disappearing for 2 years and Darcy was unable to track her down at all. So
Except the fact that Darcy, I don't know, maybe in the past she wasn't ready to leave, and now she wants to escape. So I don't know what's going on with her now, but maybe in the past she was like she wasn't ready,
Yeah.
but she definitely seems ready now.
She's made up her mind in some
Which would also
way.
explain why Bella's angry. She's like, "Oh, now you're ready to if this theory is true, right?" She's like, "Oh, wait, now you're ready to escape. You weren't going to do it before with me, but now you're going to do it. You want my help?" It's like, hell no.
Yeah, Bella actually calls her a princess. So do you guys think that she's actual nobility? Like actual, like she is blood related to.
That was my first thought. My first thought was like, wait, is she like a sister? Is she like a bastard child of the original king? Like, I'm still open to there being some real princess blood there.
If she was, would they still try and marry her to a precinct officer lieutenant? Like, would that match still work?
Maybe nobody
Well,
knows. Maybe
Will
only
is-
she knows.
Will is destined, like he is destined, or what Stefan wants from him and is expecting and will be pulling the strings to do is to get Will into a more reputable position. But I guess like, everyone has to start from somewhere, and so people are willing to brush aside Will currently being just like a lieutenant right now because they think that he'll go farther.
So his dad was chief of police and now is the general. And isn't he a duke also?
Yes, he does
Yes,
have the
duke is like
title.
second in command to king. It's right after king. So that's like the highest
Yeah.
you can get without being king.
He's
Will
pretty
would
high up,
technically
so I
inherit.
imagine that the marriage between Darcy and Will would still happen, even if she was officially royalty.
Yeah.
Or maybe she's secretly royalty, which would be even cooler. Not everyone knows about it. Or maybe she's just calling her princess as a sarcastic mocking thing.
Yeah, it could be like another Mon Amour thing. So, but it does seem to be an old nickname of theirs. Like it could be taken that way. So um Bella would call Darcy princess back in the days for whatever reason. And honestly, that's just a cute
So
name.
King
I
Saul.
usually find it like in real life, I would find it completely intolerable if I was around someone who did that to me. Like if someone was calling me princess, I would literally tell them to be quiet and shut up because I would not be able to take it. However, I'm
Totally not
living for
thinking.
it. I'm living for it with them.
I'm totally thinking of that princess nickname in a totally not PG way.
Meg.
I will
Like-
always be the one to make those jokes. Sorry.
I can
Good,
imagine.
I
sort of-
appreciate it.
I can imagine like a Wesley and Buttercup from The Princess Bride relationship for them.
Yes. Yes.
Like as you wish. And, like,
I
princess
can.
and-
I can too. I
oh my
love
god!
that.
Now
Seems a little too polite for me, but okay.
oh, I love that movie. It's so good.
It is a classic.
It is a classic. Oh, I need to rewatch it sometime. But yeah, I can totally see them as that sort of dynamic, like disappearing after many years, thinking that they're dead, but suddenly they come back as like this criminal, and they save you from this fate that you do not want, where you must get married to this rich guy. And I don't think Will is the same level as the king. Will is so much better than the king, but like on
Yeah, I was gonna say,
paper,
Will
it
is the
kind of
king,
works.
thank you.
It
But,
works.
But like separated by lives and stature, and it's like Juliet and Juliet with a twist.
Oh no! What if they're
Romeo
like
and Juliet, like hopefully no one dies.
Oh no! Okay. I thought it was possible that Bella like might die by the end of this, but I will literally throw hands if she does because I can't take one of them living like in the aftermath of the other's death. It would literally break me. Like Lockie, okay, if Lockie dies, like one of them dies, I'm chill. Like I'm fine. We're
I am not
expecting-
chill. I'm gonna
not.
cry for
I'll probably
weeks.
cry for 2 weeks straight, but like,
Entire time.
fine afterwards. But however, if one of them dies, like I will literally never leave my room again. The world will never be all right. The earth will literally be shifted from its axis and be thrown into chaos as it spirals away from the sun into whatever other solar system that we'll never see.
Honestly, if any of like the main characters die, including like Tristan and Lila and Lucas and them, I will probably cry really hard because I love them
Yeah.
all so much.
I think we're
Any of
being
them have a
stupid.
scene
If
with
all
Lauren, I'm gonna cry if they die.
I think we're stupid to think that nobody's gonna die, so somebody's gonna have a broken heart. Someone.
Nobody's gonna die.
Okay, people call me smart, but like literally, I am dead set that none of the O4 will die. And that like no one surrounding them will die either. So like Bella, Darcy, if they're like around the 24-ish age, besides Harvey, they're all right. They're gonna survive.
Yeah, I'm gonna
However,
go with
like
that.
I can't say that March, Tristan, or Dawkins are safe. They're not. God, they're mentor figures to Lauren, and we know what happens to the mentor figures on the hero's journey. They get yeeted at some point.
Uncle Iroh never got yeeted.
Oh, that's fair. But you know, with so many of these characters, and they do seem very important to the PS, them all surviving, I'd say, is a pretty low chance.
We're
Um,
just
My
like
brain,
admitting,
my brain understands you. My heart refuses to accept.
I
we're just
know.
discussing what will break our hearts, and then there's Stop and F in the background, just like cackling.
Ugh, I can't even think about it. I don't want to think about it. Deal with it when
Don't.
it comes.
I'm a fool and I know that. But yeah. Oh, I think Bella and Kieran are our highest chances to, or like, are most likely to die simply because of their position. And you know, a while back, like this is before Darcy was even introduced, like this may have been September, August theories. We thought that like we were talking about a Bella redemption arc and what that would look like. And I think ironically, since we're talking about them escaping, for Bella, that would mean choosing to leave and choosing to just um, finding the strength to leave her current circumstances. And I know that's so ironic because we were just talking about how like you shouldn't expect someone to leave someone they love for you. So this is so ironic just going back to this, but it seems like I should probably just get into the scene or this dialogue because it seems like Bella is genuinely unhappy with her current circumstances. So I'm just gonna go into the exchange that they have where Bella's like, escape. So Darcy tells her that she needs just like last time. So what's last time? Only this time I need to escape. Here's the location we can meet again. And Bella, she like pushes it out of the way and she's like, escape from what? The dull and boring life of privilege. And that line there, it makes me think that Bella is sort of envious, or she just find it ironic. Like she does think that life must be perfect in sense, you know, the dull and boring life of privilege. Because privilege is something that Bella has never really had in her life. She was a Great Chapel orphan who then became a circus performer. And while yes, she did have connections, like um, high high class connections, she likely didn't live in high class conditions at the time. And I I wouldn't even go as far to say that um, the way Bella carries herself, the way Bella dresses, because it's all very extravagant. The way Bella acts now is just to make up for the extravagance that she never really got growing up. She's trying to sort of substitute it in her adulthood because she saw it but never really received it. And so this is her trying to make up in a sense, if that makes sense.
Yeah, it does make sense. Mindy, just heads up, I do have to probably leave somewhere around 10:30. So just a heads up.
Oh God, I'm so sorry. I'm just rambling.
There's a lot to process in this chapter. I
Oh,
was
yeah.
I was thinking it's gonna be a long one. There's like several different sections. You got the Bella Darcy, then you have like that whole with the butler and boof, and then the court. There's a lot. There's just several sections to this chapter. So
Yeah, I'm so sorry. I love Darcy. I have so many thoughts. So I just want to like get them all out. But yeah, so when Bella's like the dull and boring life of privilege, she does have a lot of contempt for it. It does seem like that way. And I guess that does seem why the Phantom Size does call to her a bit, because it does seem like it is entirely possible that Bella joined the Phantom Scythe completely on her own accord and like just on her own judgment. So if she did choose the assassin life, I do think it may have been like, you know, a bit out of a bit of like going with this theory, it could have been like out of a bit of contempt for the rich because, you know, the rich is what have made her life this way, and the upper class and their systems and their corruption and their world, the world that Bella was born into and the world that Bella unfortunately was born at the bottom of. Um, yeah, I wouldn't be surprised if she held a lot of contempt for nobility, which makes Bellarthy really ironic because they are technically then enemies to friends to maybe lovers, it seems like, to enemies again here, or strangers might even be the better term.
It may also be that they, like each other a lot, but at the end of the day aren't compatible because of their differences.
Oh God,
Meg
I
had a
would
very interesting
cry.
theory where Darcy also grew up poor, but if she grew up rich, maybe, sometimes people can be attracted to each other, but because of their differences, just can't actually be together.
Yeah, there's definitely a lot of Darcy's adopted theories I saw, which I thought was interesting. I personally think that she's biological. I think Stefan is he's a jerk, and he would want someone of like straight, like noble descent, sort of like get that, blue blood in there.
Pure bloodline kind of thing.
Yeah. So
Ooh.
like he would want that Stefan wants that like actual genetic like descent. So I'm not sure if he would settle for someone who's adopted
More reasons to
because
hate
he's just a
Mr. Fox.
jerk like that. So Darcy says, "A life I never chose, and you of all people should know how that feels." It's literally one of my favorite moments in the entire chapter, if not my actual favorite, because I've been saying for a while now that like Bella didn't choose this life. She was a circus performer and she was taken as a kid. She didn't consent to it. And Wycliffe was abusing her and the other Pantheon kids for money and building himself a fortune off child labor and whatnot. Like Bella did not choose this life. It is quite evident. Um, she didn't really choose to become a circus. Like, yeah, she did choose technically. It does seem like she did choose to become a circus performer, but when it's out of like when you're doing it for survival, like when your options and are so bare that you're choosing something out of like just necessary survival, it's not really a choice at that point because your other options are to literally like starve to death. So I don't think that Bella really got the choice in that circumstance when she did join the circus.
Kind of opens the door for a discussion kind of on like the decisions that are taken away from children that are in those situations, that are kind of brainwashed, that are kind of shoved into scenarios that any child should never be shoved into. And one of the things that remind me of this, I don't know if any of you have seen Jojo Rabbit, the movie, came out in like 2019. But like that's what they did, that the Nazis did. They indoctrinated children. And there's pictures of Hitler with children, and that's where he saw the strength was. If you could control the children, you could control the future. And so we kind of see the same kind of narrative being built within Purple Hyacinth, that this idea of children from a very young age being accustomed to violence and being shown that this is the way things are done and you have no other option, and their humanity just kind of gets pummeled over and over and over again and kind of destroys the people that they could have been, but that was taken away from them. And that's probably one of the more tragic narratives in history and in literature, the brainwashing and the stolen innocence of children. And for that reason alone, I can sympathize with Bella all day long because that was taken from her. And that's tragic. And I can't blame her for that. I really can't, even if she has made really horrible decisions as a consenting and fully grown adult.
Yeah, I do definitely agree. The dark side of like a child soldier's narrative is one that like definitely compels me a lot. Especially since like recently I got back into another show called Voltron. That show broke my heart a million times over, but it does technically deal with child soldiers. Like the main characters are teenagers when they become like the special knights of Ultron and whatnot.
Oh, okay, I've seen that one. Yeah.
Yeah. I'm not going to try and delve into spoilers, but I thought it would be interesting. The show never does really address it, but I do think that like the whole narrative of like, the chosen one, but they're a kid. If the dark side isn't really explored that often because they are like you said, they are kids, and this whole, you know, greater destiny does sort of steal a bit of their childhood innocence.
Mhm.
And it's just, I don't know, it's the plot point that I would honestly live if we got to see
Yeah.
other stories like sort of develop and explore that dilemma, because it can get really dark.
Yeah. I don't know if any of you watch Attack on Titan, but they're into that very much a lot, especially in the newest season. And it is one of the hardest things to watch.
Oh yeah, I haven't watched Attack on Titan. For what I've seen, it's a bit too gory for me. I'll wait a few years, I think, for me to grow a stronger stomach. But yeah, anyways, back to the comic. So I think that's also the life I never chose. That is an aspect that the two are joined together by, and they are brought together by just their inability to control their circumstance. And that issue drives them together because they are able to find, I guess, safety in the other, knowing that they aren't entirely alone in the world.
Mhm.
That's one of my favorite romance tropes, where they find solace in the other. But it also, I do also want them to not be completely dependent on one another, and that is definitely not healthy. Like if you're completely dependent on one person, they're completely dependent on you. Like you need friends, like you need other people, and I do think that that's where Bella and Darcy's stories are going. I'm not sure how many genuine friends Darcy had before Bella. Like we see her interactions with Will, there's a lot of lying in there, and Darcy obviously knows there's a lot of lying, and it's all just a facade that she has to keep up.
Mhm.
So because Bella was one of the few people that she got to interact with, likely as a kid or when she was younger, who was not held up to the same standards and pressures and expectations as other high class kids, then like, yeah, it's totally possible that Bella was really one of the few genuine relationships that Darcy was able to form. And so now into adulthood, now with like we saw Darcy with Lauren, I do hope that Darcy is able to form more genuine relationships with more people and, just get that support network. Also, a Bella and sorry, not Bella, a Kim and Darcy friendship. I need it in my life.
I would not, I don't know how that would look.
Feel like Kim would be
I don't know.
very, very upset at Darcy because Kim does not tolerate BS. And Darcy pulls a lot of emotional BS with her power plays.
Really, like, I mean, Darcy has like the power. She can be like just a genuine person. Like from her interactions with Lauren, I still think that that was genuinely Darcy there. However, the
Yeah,
whole
she
switch
behaves
here,
differently. Right. With
yeah, the whole
Lauren,
switch here is because she's dealing with someone who she has a lot of like unsaid things with. Like there's a lot of contempt between the two. So she does act differently, and she does want control of the situation. And, she had time to prepare for this meeting. She may be feeling the same way Bella is secretly feeling as well.
definitely a lot to look forward to understand.
But yeah, we also know that, oh, excuse me. We also know that, or we can assume and we hope that Darcy is a genuinely nice person as well. Because that's what her character introduction set her up to be, someone who's compassionate, someone who looks beyond class and wealth and status, which we should have seen as foreshadowing for all of this. And she treats people with respect, and she treats them with kindness. So I don't think that she's super cold and uncaring.
She seems more morally gray than black or white. That's probably what I would expect from her.
Yeah. That's what I was thinking as well. When for the panels, a life I never chose, you of all people should know how that feels. It does, the way that she's able to say that to like Bella, because like I feel like we don't even know Bella anymore. Like I thought we had some grasp of her character and maybe some of her conflicts, but this is like an entirely new character here. Like, damn. um just how vulnerable she is and how Darcy is able to pull these things on her. I'm like, wow. I'm like, that's her power. um, but there's a moment where the two are just staring at each other, and Darcy breaks the eye contact, and they're just left standing there.
She's looking at the lips. I said it before, but she's downward. It's a direct downward eye contact. So either like neckline or lips.
I almost can think it like at least the second panel of Darcy eyes in that sequence. I can see her almost looking at her feet, just not wanting to, like that is her break in this scene, because Bella broke like as soon as the scene started. Like she was panicked there, but I think this is Darcy's break in the scene. It's a lot more subtle and there's a lot more interpretation behind it, but for my interpretation, this is where Darcy breaks, at least, because she does seem a little less confident in the coming panels, where Bella starts to regain more control. So this is where the tides turn. This is where the tables flip, where it got a little bit too emotional for them, like with the you should know how that feels, like a little bit too deep. And now Darcy got a little bit too attached and she went a little bit too far, and now Bella has control. And that's why Bella's like, you did all of this just to find me, to help you escape. Sounds like a reach, dear. And Darcy says, I guess so. Like there's not a lot of power to her words. There's a lot more emphasis on Bella's words, as we see with the font. But it's, I don't know, just the panel of her going, I guess so. It breaks my heart. Like she's smiling, but she's obviously not feeling that on the inside. And the way that I guess so is framed in that bubble, and just the way that it looks compared to everything else that's happening, it's just quiet acceptance, sort of, in a way. And yeah, Bella gets control and she gets Darcy to take her coat, and then Bella just leaves the room entirely.
Which I honestly, I mean, it's sad. I guess she's just trying to run away from it as fast as she possibly can because it's an uncomfortable situation for her. But I'm like, honey, that's your house. You're leaving your house. Like you came home and then you just left.
Yeah, she wants to get away, I guess. And
Yeah.
Because of their positions, like she can't really shove Darcy out the door because Bella's the one with her back to the door. And Darcy was so comfortable in the house that like Bella's just, I'm out of here, leave whenever you want to. You're not gonna see me.
Yeah. It goes right back to that earlier discussion we had on power dynamic and the controlling of the room and the controlling of the narrative, which even I guess how it's framed in the comic itself is, shows that too. So
Yeah.
we have totally spent 2 hours on just the Bella Darcy scene.
Totally worth it. I'm sorry, Mindy, this is gonna be a really long episode.
Yeah. Okay, so are we ready to move on to the next part?
I think
Yes,
so.
I don't
Sorry for
have too
holding
much
you
time.
guys.
Yeah, we know. I know, Meg. It's okay.
No, it's okay. You guys continue like talking or whatever. Even if I have to go, you have all my notes. So,
let me open it up now then, so that I can read it when we get to that. Okay, so next part opens up with March visiting Herman's office. Let me just log in to the email. And he says, evening, Captain. 3 nobles were murdered last night. Golden Viper venom again. And so, yes, that is what we were scene with Bella, 2 in the 10th district and 1 in ours. The bodies were found this morning. And he's like, oh, I see our serial killers on a spree. Tonight's murders don't seem related to Harvey's or Sykes. The 3 nobles also had no apparent ties to each other, which is interesting. And then he says, I believe we're dealing with hitmen from the Phantom Scythe. We know some of their assassins accept contracts for cash on the side. So interesting. March doesn't think it has anything to do with the Phantom Scythe. He thinks it's a private assassination for, a contract.
Considering how they don't have any attachments to the Phantom Scythe, the nobles that were killed, that we know of, and that the police know of, I think that someone hired Bella to kill them, because she has said before that she kills like people like cheaters and people that for hire as on the side, probably to make extra money.
I don't think Bella is like completely just third party that you can hire, because she is doing work for the leader where she is spying on A7's operation. And I don't think she would be very widely trusted if she wasn't complete PS. So I guess it's sort of a mix. Like, she is doing spy work, she's doing assassination work, all for that sweet cash. So March's assessment is like half right, I would say.
Herman, of course, has to bring up, what about Sinclair? Where was she last night? He's just not letting that go. And March says she was home the entire night, dozens of guests, Chief Sinclair and Lord Rhymesville can confirm it. Like, eat that, Herman. Although honestly, like, the entire night is like, they didn't see her the entire night. The guests saw her until the party ended. She could have gone out afterwards, but whatever.
I guess, like, I'm guessing the party would have gone to like maybe 1 a.m. ish, because they would have had the like midnight toast, and then they would have had like the after party sort of. So I guess like 1 or 2 a.m. is when the party guests started to leave.
So basically, plenty of time for Lauren to pop out, do 3 murders, and then come back.
I mean, sure, it could be possible.
We don't know the timing
Lauren
of the
is-
murderers, but
I'm glad that Lauren's
Yeah.
been considered pretty much clear from all of the murders, and now she can actually go back to what she wants to do. Because even though it seems like pretty tedious work, she seems to really enjoy patrol work.
Yeah, she likes
Oh
her
my
job,
God.
I think.
I'm really glad that she's able to go back to that.
Also, okay,
But-
literally, I want Herman to be a sympathetic person for once, and I want him to be like, show some sort of crumb of empathy. And I was like, oh, hey, like, maybe this is a chance, like, for something to show where he's like relieved that it's not Lauren, like, and he's relieved because, like, for her own sake. But no, he just says, I see, that's good for her, I suppose. I'm like, dude, do better.
You suppose one of your officers isn't a murderer, and you're like, he did, I suppose.
Oh, I suppose. Like, oh, I suppose. And I'm like, dude, I'm giving you my faith right now. Do not screw it up.
I
Oh,
have
this is a good time. Yeah, that's your theory time.
I have a crackhead, totally unlikely, I don't really believe it kind of theory. The theory that Herman has actually been on Lauren's side the entire time and is actually trying to get her off the police department and off the detective unit and out of police work entirely, because he knows her obsession and he's trying to protect her for some reason or another. It is a crack theory.
Yes.
I do not believe it, but if it turns out to be true, I said it first, so.
I'm sorry, Meg, but I kind of beat you to it.
Oh,
while
no.
back. I'm so sorry.
No, it's good.
It's a bit different.
Of course you did. Of course you did.
I'm so sorry. It's a bit different, but basically the base of that theory is that it has been said in the show, and in the webcomic, and I'm very sure that Herman is aware of this, but Lauren is a very efficient detective, and so like, she could be March's superior by now. Like, if she was still a detective, like, that's how good she was. And March has been doing this for years, whereas Lauren's only been doing it for a couple. And Herman knows this. Like, he knows that their department could be super efficient if Lauren was still a detective, and for some reason he's not promoting her again. And we have seen Will advocate for her, like on her side, where like she's learned or to Stefan, he was like, she learned from her mistakes. And I'm sure Herman is also aware of that to some capacity, but I think Herman knows she has the obsession. And so he knows that obsession got her into dangerous situations. And he knows that because she's not like entirely over it, if he did give her that power of detective, it could get her into those situations again. And my theory that I've had since like, I don't know, it's been months, probably August or September. What I was thinking is that he's trying to keep her safe in that sort of sense, because if he did give her that position back, let's be real, she would probably be dead by now. So he has sort of, in a way, saved her life by keeping her from that detective position. Because, like, you know, if she was detective, she might go off and do stupid things, like team up with the purple hyacinth.
She's doing stupid things without that.
But yeah, he's doing what he can in his power to keep her safe, and that's my take on it.
So kind of like a Snoke theory. He secretly loved her mother, and now he's trying to protect her.
It's like Snape, but we completely take out that
that's
mom.
Snoke,
We
Snape.
take out
Oh
the
my
mom
gosh.
love. I don't know if Herman and Rachel were romantically related. I would literally stop reading PH. That'd be too much.
Oh my gosh.
Anyway, our next scene is hilarious. We have Kim like jumping on top of Lauren. She's like, I'm so happy you're not a murderer, Lauren. Thank you, Kim. That's your bar for friends, not murderers. Very, very funny. And she just jumps on top of her. It's like, Herman, and then Will says, Herman will have no choice but to cut you some slack now. And Lauren's like, still 3 murders in one night, that's insane. And she's like, yeah, I know, so soon after the circus, there's no clear connection, so it must be some sort of contract killer. And was like, let's stop talking about this murder, it's giving me a headache, just want to forget about it this morning. And then we have a flashback to earlier that day, and it is a very suspicious and interesting flashback. So we have Will and Kim outside on the street, just apropos of nothing, and suddenly you see Lady A, lamp lady, saying, it's horrible, this is horrible, horrendous, my heart cannot handle the stress. And she's, in hysterics again, just like bowing down, and poor Kim is trying to support her. She's like, you'll be okay, ma'am, we're the APT, we're here to help. And she's just hysterical. And Will's like, my lady. Now she catches hold of a sight of him. Her eyes twinkle. She sees him. And in her mind, what does she see? She sees Lifeguard Will. Oh my God. She sees a beautiful young man in his beautiful costume with this shining sky around him and the beach, and he's in this wet t-shirt. Oh, looking stunning.
His path.
I know. It's a stunning picture, but it just shows that she sees him, as a piece of meat. And like, here's this pretty boy, and now she's going to start acting really nuts. And what Kim will say later is 100% true. Will's just being professional. He's like, my lady, can you stand? And of course she can stand. What does she do? She pulls Will on top of her. She lies on the floor on top of poor Kim, who is expiring and like a ghost. She grabs him, pulls him on her, holds his face, and she's like, oh, this is all too stressful. And with her mascara running again because she's crying, my poor heart can't take it. This scene made me hate Lady A. I don't find her comedic anymore. I find her a bad person. What she did is
I don't like her. Fwoot was right to hate her.
Super funny story about this, and I think Emma just mentioned it a little bit.
Okay.
So I'm not sure if you want to continue more with the scene because it gets to a specific point. It would be good to tell it.
We'll tell the story afterwards. But she says, please administer CPR at once. And she squishes him and she grabs his face and like brings it close to her mouth. Like, lady, you do not do that to people. You just don't. What do you have any boundaries or respect for personal space or like, and she's like, I'm sure your girlfriend over there will understand. And Kim's like, oh, girlfriend, what? Or no, sorry, Will says that. And Kim just has her eyes wide open. She's like, wait, who's the girlfriend? Me? Which is cute. And she's like, ma'am, you don't need CPR. I know the situation might be stressful. Like, the stress is too much. Is my heart still beating? And she just shoves Will onto her breasts. I mean, this lady, sexual harassment right there. Kim says that. She's, ma'am, this is sexual harassment. I'm like, this lady, I cannot stand her. Before that, she was
A
just
working
suspicious
person
and funny.
too.
Hmm?
Like, Will's just trying to work. It's his job to make sure she's okay, and she's just taking advantage of it.
Yeah, she's like, he's a pretty boy. I'm going to just assault him and grab him and push him onto my body because I want to. And I'm forcing him to and overpowering him. I mean, it's disgusting. Sorry,
Mhm.
it's
Yeah.
not acceptable. Just because she's old does not mean she has the right to sexually harass a person.
So my story about this, I think Emma like briefly mentioned it.
Mindy,
So-
I'm going to step out for a phone call just briefly. Please keep talking, and hopefully
Okay.
I will be back.
Sure.
So basically, I've had this crack thing that I've done for a while. It's mainly an ongoing joke that I've done, which also originated around like August. Basically, I have this vendetta against Lady A because I personally think that the relationship between her and Butler is not a great one because there is a power imbalance, and like she has, I just, I there's like she controls his finances and stuff. So like it's not really the healthiest relationship on Butler's side because she is also very emotionally dependent on him. So it's like, yucks for him. So basically, I've been canceling her in a way since like August, and I've just despised her for months now. Like, I love Butler. He's done nothing wrong. He's the pure soul in this world of monsters. But Lady A, I hate her. I hate her so
You have
much.
no right to hate her. I used to kind of like her as a comedic figure, and after this, no, I don't like her anymore. She's just it's literally sexual assault with a working person who's just trying to help her out. Like, he has to help her, probably even if he doesn't want to.
So the really funny thing that happened, my story is that one of my friends who watches streams, I'm sorry, Arum, I'm kind of calling you out right now. He DM'd me one day and said, I apologize for being against canceling Lady A. I have changed my mind. And I was like, oh, what the hell happened? And she's like, you'll see in a month, but you were right to cancel. And I sent her, they called me a madman gif of like Thanos, like they called me a madman because it's like all my theories, people like they think it's crazy, but I'm right sometimes. And at the same time, one of my other friends DM'd me and was like, let me see if I can find it, but basically they were like, you're right. I don't I can't
Graceful
find it.
ending, Meg.
Yeah.
That was
Like that-
graceful.
One of my friends said, she also DM'd me, Nick. She said, I think Herbs already mentioned this to you, but you were right to cancel Lady A. And they DM'd me around the same time. So it was like, how are y'all in on this? And so I made a group chat between us, and I was like, all right, y'all, what is happening? Because they just, they DM'd me at the same time, and I was so confused. And I found out about this scene, and it was like, aha, I was right. And yeah, that was something I just found kind of funny because, I don't know, justification, validation.
Yep.
in all
Feels
of
good,
it.
huh?
But yeah, when this episode comes out for Non-Fast Pass, I'm gonna be so smug to everyone. Because also by then, the whole like Orion and Sons massacre being done by the Royals thing will have come out, and literally, so like my theories are just coming true one by one by one. The 80s arc has been great for me.
Yeah, so Kim thankfully calls her out. She says, this is sexual harassment and they must be distressed, but don't make me arrest you. Good, please go home. We're handling the crime scene, trying to get her off. And at that point, when she hears that, she jumps up and she's like, huh? Crime scene? No, I can't leave. Suddenly she's not having a heart attack and she can move. So it's like, oh no, what if the victim's my butler? Okay, first of all, she's insane. Like, her mind leaps. I mean, she's done this before. Like we assumed she was there for comedic purposes. At this point, I don't know anymore because they're like, wait, she wasn't here because of the crime scene. I don't effing know. I mean, I don't think Willow's ever cursed before. This got to
He
him.
has once in when Raphael was around. He did it once.
That's
Well,
how
congratulations.
upsetting.
Here's the
That's how
last
upset
one.
he is. Like Lady A and brother missing for 10 years. I mean, same reaction.
Oh my gosh.
Can't stand this lady. So
Maybe
yeah,
I
her
agree with
appearance
you.
here is very suspicious, as well as what she's about to say. She says, I'm sure it's the same two fecund felons again. They were at the Carmen Camellia too. Those wicked predators have been tracking us. What is she doing? Does she know something? And is she trying to get them in trouble? What is going
Well,
on? And why is she everywhere at the same
hey,
time? Why does she pop up?
Lady A
wherever
and the
something
Butler
happens?
have been around for, I'm pretty sure, almost every single Loon mission. They've been there. And I know that in the Canvas version, before it was on Originals for Hyacinth, the Butler was killed like right away. But I have this suspicion about Lady A. She seems a bit suspicious.
I
And
mean,
I think she knew about Loon before it was released to the public too.
Right, because she knew about them right outside outside the police station when they just had that meeting, just the police officers.
So I have my suspicions about her.
yeah, it's definitely more sus and less comedic this time around. Honestly, the funniest thing about this whole thing, if you were going to be funny, was Kim's reactions to everything. I love Kim. That was the highlight of the scene was just Kim's reactions.
Her outfits are always great. I will say that. But
Mhm.
yeah, there's something highly suspicious. And Kim picks up on it. She's like, wait, she's like, oh, waiting for us to lower our guard. Now they've taken my butler. And she's like, oh my gosh, wait, the same two? Are you talking about Loon? And she's like, oh, so those assassins were Loon? I knew they couldn't be trusted. And Kim is writing this down. So Kim's not dumb. Kim is putting the pieces together.
I really hope that the Carmen Camellia lead, I really hope we see our next Soleil episode because I can't wait for it. And I'm
God, I
not sure if
can't
I
either.
expressed this on the podcast yet, but I've been really hoping for more Soleil content because I thought that was something that the season was like super setting up and just something that like we were supposed to expect a lot from, like even to maybe even the prevalence of like Boone for Soleil, but it kind of got dropped. That whole plot line of after like the 60s arc, it kind of got dropped a bit of like that plot line of Luna, or sorry, not Luna, of Kim and Will searching for Loon, but it's being brought back and I'm super excited because it was one of my favorite plot lines.
And if they do go back to there to investigate, what did Kieran and Lauren leave behind at that crime scene?
Yeah.
They left 2 bugs
Yeah,
in a
that's what I
vase.
was thinking. Oh
I
no!
know.
Oh crap!
There is evidence. There's evidence.
Oh, they're getting messy. They might have even found like they might even find evidence of the fight that Kieran and Lynn had. Like if Kieran was leaving behind like those, I
But
don't
yeah,
remember
those
what they're called.
through.
Those like ninja stars. That's not the right word, but I can't remember what they're called. I'm so sorry. But like he was throwing those things at Lauren, and I doubt he went back to pick them up. So
Maybe they did go to their room, by the way, and get the bugs out. Maybe
Mhm.
maybe it was just off camera.
Yeah,
No,
maybe.
we saw them part. We saw them like leave at the end, like, and they went separate ways after the closet. And so
Even
I
if they
doubt that they
don't,
went back.
even if they don't discover the bugs, I mentioned this when I first got on the Discord, like I don't remember when. But if you go back to that episode and you remember how the messenger like appears out of nowhere. Well, if you look at the panels, there's like this circular thing that comes, and he comes kind of out of the garden. He doesn't come from the gate. There's like this circular thing just behind him from where he's stepping. My theory is that there is an underground to the facility. And the reason why we saw him come through the gardens and leave through the gardens was he was actually going into like the underground of the basement or the tunnels or something like that. And maybe that's what they'll discover. But it does look like there's like a trap door behind him when he first emerges in that chapter.
Oh
Yep.
yeah, okay. this is funny because there's so many intricate theories, but we have an old theory called the tunnel theory, and it's similar to what Meg said. But basically, Ardhalis is connected by a ton of underground tunnels underneath, and that's where the nitro is being stored. So
Mhm.
when the nitro goes off, instead of like buildings being exploded, it's the ground that's going to be unstabilized, and the city will literally collapse in on itself, and then the water will come rushing in. The water from like the ocean, it's going to
But
flood
that
the
just
city.
doesn't get rid of the hierarchy or the royalty. That gets rid of everybody.
Yeah,
it doesn't. But
think-
you know where the castle is? It's right on the cliffs.
Hmm.
So like they could get rid. It would if they attack the castle by like collapsing it into the sea. That would be a really big blow to the royalty, probably.
I mean, that's one way to depose a monarchy, but
yeah, I mean, I think the Phantom Scythe at this point is not. I think they've gone beyond their ideals when they started. I think they've just become a destructive force.
Mhm.
I wouldn't be surprised if they just wanted to randomly kill many people
Yeah.
for the whole city.
But yeah,
I-
those rich areas, those like rich precincts, they're right on the sea. Like besides the South Shore, like the other ones, like up north, those precincts are right on the sea. If they get flooded sometime, I wouldn't be surprised.
But I mean, why wouldn't the South, if the tunnels are under the South in Great Chapel, which I think they are, right? Because Kieran mentioned that they would
Oh,
also
they
get
would probably
flooded. They're
be
also by the
overflowed.
river.
Like the entire city is connected by tunnels. They could probably like block off some tunnels and keep it like contained, like a contained fire. So like most of the damage would probably be done to the richer precincts, and that's richer areas are technically, or not technically, but richer areas are usually who the PS targets. Like I don't think we've seen the PS target many unrelated PS like lower class things, like unrelated to the PS. So people in the lower class seem to be pretty safe from the PS. Like they don't get the assassinations. They don't have to worry about the bombings because all the bombings are done to wealthy areas like Allendale in the theater from the prologue. So, which makes sense because they don't want to villainize and they don't want to hurt their primary source of recruits. So keeping it to wealthy areas and making sure that the damage stays in more wealthy areas is a smart tactic. If they were smart, they would use that tactic.
Right. Yeah. So now Butler appears. He's like, my lady, I have your Brussels sprout scented sorbet. So of course.
Oh, did she have Brussels sprout breath when she was all over Will?
Oh no!
Oh,
Oh,
no, no.
Poor Will's still on the ground, like visibly
Cough.
shaking from this.
Poor
The
guy.
poor boy is traumatized. He's traumatized.
Mhm.
One of my
Yeah.
favorite conversations that we had, like from again a while back, was about Ardhalis's economy, and we realized that like Ardhalis doesn't seem to produce a lot of things, and we weren't really sure what type of economy it was and what they did produce and what they did like buy. And so we basically had this thing where like Ardhalis's economy is in shambles, and seeing that Ardhalis has Brussels sprout scented sorbet, they deserve that economic crisis. Like they deserve it. Like if the city is really going to let Brussels sprout scented sorbet exist, you know, maybe being plagued by a terrorist organization like shouldn't be their biggest worry, because this is the true crime against humanity.
I kind of thought they were a manufacturing like nation with their ports and like over by the docks. It looks like, it looks like plants or something like that. So I kind of thought it was like they made textiles maybe.
Oh yeah, like an industrial revolution in England, that would make sense.
Yeah, it goes with the vibe of the webtoon too. So
Mhm. We haven't seen many factories though, which I think gets most people. Like where we expect factories, like they're pretty empty. Like Rechapel, that area in 65, that seemed pretty abandoned, which I found odd.
Yeah, I mean, there's
Yeah, that's
active, and if you look at, old maps of like London, for example, like back in the day, like there were areas of it, especially where the lodging was for those people who worked in the factories, because it was such a lower class, and kind of, it was in shambles, even if you looked at those pictures and too. So then, and the plants weren't exactly right. They were near there, but that's still where the people lived, sadly, rather than worked.
Mhm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. As we've gotten more episodes, uh, bits and pieces of the economy have started to make sense. I think the conversation when it happened, it was like 2 weeks after season 2 really premiered. So
Oh,
like,
wow.
we were going off almost nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I think there's only so much they can show us within the comic, and they're just not
Yeah.
showing us everything. So
Yeah. But the vibes of the city that they've established have been fantastic. Like the world building, like genuinely, like even if we aren't entirely sure of what economy it is, that's such a fine detail that like it doesn't really matter overall to the story. The world building that we've gotten so far, anyways, is just fantastic. We don't really need to know.
Yeah. Even to the point of everything is planned out, like the whole entire world. I mean, even though probably the other countries aren't, the city itself is amazingly planned out.
Yeah. It's
Our house
the
does feel isolated, though. I mean,
yeah.
it kind of feels like it's the only place in that side of the world. I want to know what's overseas. Like, are there other nations? Are they
Oh my
involved
God,
in this? Do they
same.
know what's going on?
Apparently, I think I don't remember when, but apparently there was an idea that they would eventually go overseas, but I think it was scrapped. So I'm not sure if they'll bring it back.
Mm.
But yeah, I would love to see like an arc where they go overseas and explore that part of the world, see what things are like from over there. Because especially with it does seem like they are sort of hinting towards it. They mentioned how Kieran was overseas in episode 83, and they talked about how Alexander came from out of town in 86. So yeah, I can definitely see them going to other places of the world.
And if they do explore that option, it does also give like motivation for the upper class characters that are involved in the Phantom Scythe for, why they want to take down, their current government. If they've got other ties to, other nations, and they've got more
Yeah.
money in the pot over there, it does give them a financial incentive to take down their own government. So, I mean, I don't know. Obviously, we don't know if those other countries are going to be involved, but if they did, that would serve as good motivation.
interesting.
Um,
Yeah, I know. I'm
something
getting tired too.
Yeah.
sorry if we're keeping you here so long. One of my
Yeah.
friends, a thing that she says a lot about Artalis and just considering its state in the general scheme of in the bigger scheme of things, like with the whole world of PH, like the other countries. She always says how she finds it surprising how they haven't been annexed yet because their monarchy is so weak that they wouldn't be able to stand like someone taking over them, like an invasion.
I mean, there was a war. I mean, Stephen Hawks was a general for something.
Oh
Well,
yeah,
no,
it's
you can
true.
have generals in peacetime. You always have a standing army.
Yeah.
Mhm. Yeah. But
So
London in the industrial age, it does make me wonder, does Artalis have smaller colonies and stuff, maybe? Because what we see, the city we see is only the capital. There is a larger country outside of it.
maybe, yeah,
Intriguing.
something like that. We assume. Anywho, so if we can continue, that'll be nice.
Sorry.
I mean, this is fascinating stuff, but it's already pretty long. So the Lady A was like, "Oh, my beautiful, handsome butler is back from the dead," and there's like love marks and hearts everywhere, which I find surprising. Like, lady, if you love your butler so much, why are you like shoving this young guy on your body? Doesn't seem very loyal to me.
It's like the butler's loyal to her, and she's loyal to him, or she's not loyal to him, obviously, because he's going after Will. But she has the butler, who seems like he would do a lot.
Emma, we can't quite. We can't.
Yeah,
quite
Fwoot,
hear
you're very quiet. Is there? I don't know if you changed something.
Let me see. Is this better?
a little bit.
Okay. Wait, let's closer. It seems like the butler would do a lot for her. I don't know why she's chasing after some person who's obviously much younger.
and not interested in her.
Definitely not interested in her at all.
Lady A is a cougar confirmed.
Yeah, I mean, she seems very predatory. Sometimes, I mean, she's like, oh, handsome guy, let me just take advantage of him. Whatever,
Not cool.
very. So now Kim looks down at Will, who's coughing, and she's like, oi, Lieutenant, are you okay? Do you also need CPR? And he's like, huh? And she's like, I can call Herman over to revive you. Poor Will. On top of everything, is to deal with Kim.
I'm pretty sure that's a callback to the him suggesting that Herman and Will go on a picnic together, like a romantic picnic.
Oh, Herman's the joke. Never. And now they come back to the office, and Kim has apparently told her the whole story. And she's like, so that's why Will looks so disheveled. Poor Will. And now March comes in. He's like, hey guys, evening. What did Herman say? Investigation unit will cooperate with other precincts to look for the culprit. With 3 murders in a row, the killer may have left some clues. We might have a chance of finding something this time. And Kieran walks in now. And he's like, otherwise, good news for you, Sinclair. Your name will probably be cleared because of last night's events. Herman will not be able to keep you on suspension without more evidence. Yay. And she just says, Lauren's like, I just wish that 3 brutal murders weren't necessary to prove my innocence in his eyes.
I do too,
Real.
because honestly, having 3 murders to prove her innocent is a bit stupid in my opinion.
It is tragic. So like, this is the length people must go to have confirmation of the truth.
Yeah, I'm happy she spoke up though and expressed her feelings, at least, that she felt free enough to express her frustration. That's a good sign. And Kim's like, because Kim can't just like, she's like, she on the assumption that they're dating, right? She just has to drag him in. She's like, did you hear, Kieran? Oh yes, I've heard about the murders. And he says, it would send chills down anyone's spine. And that's a lie, because
Yeah.
there are people who would not send chills down.
Honestly, I assume that he's referring to himself. Like people, they don't realize it, of course, but I do think that he would be talking about himself because he's just so desensitized to it at this point.
Yeah, that's what I think too. And then he looks, there's a close up and he's like, genuinely, he says, but I'm glad Officer Sinclair is no longer suspected. And then Lauren looks at him and he looks at her. Oh,
Intense eye contact.
I'm sure that it'll be much easier for, if Loon is technically back on yet, for their missions where she doesn't need to be more careful about sneaking out of the house because she would need a chaperone. But I'm glad that she's out, especially because now that they can get more information without having to be even more suspicious.
Yeah, definitely a good thing.
by the way, can I just say, just like people admire Lauren's golden pensive eyes, I admire Kieran's blue ocean eyes. Just saying.
Those sparkles. I mean, there's more sparkly than Will's baby blues. I mean,
they're
I have
they're
a favorite.
intense.
Darcy's amethyst eyes, like, damn. You could pierce me. I don't know. Her eyes with like, oh, she's so pretty. I wish I was her.
But I like how we all have our favorites.
Oh, Mindy, you know my favorite.
He's my favorite too, but like I said, it's okay. We can all share the fictional characters.
Yeah, but you're the only one who gets dreams about hugging him. So
Only once. I can beam thoughts of dreams to you. I can't control my dreams and I can't
I would
control yours.
appreciate that. Please do.
Let us all pray together now for pleasant Kieran dreams.
I think Kim's eyes though are like really underrated. Kim's eyes, like that hazel color, oh, so pretty.
I might just like them a lot because they match my eyes, but I really like her eye color. Honestly,
If you
all of them
Kim's eye
have.
color. I'm jealous.
I have. Well, they're a bit darker, but they're close enough. Honestly,
well.
all of the eyes are amazingly well done. I really love the way that in basically every panel, they are like the added color. Like, even though they can be really colorful, the eyes always stand out.
Yeah, that's a good character design. and also how you can tell your main characters apart. Or like how you can tell who is the main character or not if they have some sort of funky eye color or hair.
He tells her now, I have good news concerning Chow's case. The file we presented to the court has been accepted. The appeal will start next week. And Lauren nods. She has this happy nod. Now we move to the court scene. So at some later date. And there's a judge, there's a defender, I guess, with Maria Chow sitting there. And she says the appeal was solved quickly. We have a bunch of people sitting there in the waiting room. It's not really waiting room. What is it called? Docket. And with Lauren, Herman, and March. Herman seems like he's drawn a little differently this chapter, by the way. Did you notice?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he's like with our leads.
I think
Our leads and the sorry, what did you say?
oh, sorry. Mindy, I'm not sure if you found out this, but apparently, according to F, her favorite character is Herman because it's the hardest character for Soap to draw.
Yeah, I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
I was there for the presentation, the pro Herman presentation.
So
yeah.
I thought that was a little funny.
Mhm. Yeah. So she says, with our leads and the witness's testimony, and then there's the gavel, the investigation unit was able to gather enough evidence to prove Maria's innocence. And you see Maria being unshackled from her handcuffs. Beautiful, just a beautiful moment. Seeing her freed felt like I did the right thing for the first time in a long while. And Lauren is sitting there with a big smile for Lauren, a big smile on her face. Like, that's great. This is like a great moment.
It's
Gives me all
really
feels.
great. It's really great for everyone because this has been sort of holding Lauren back for a year, a long time. And Maria getting out of where she is not supposed to be. She didn't do anything, but she handled it probably really well. Like, I'm surprised she's still doing well, and I'm really glad that she can actually get out and
Yeah, I seeing that this case has been resolved is really satisfying for me. Because, like, I don't know. I like Maria. Like, we don't even know her, and I'm already attached to her, but yeah. I like Maria. So I'm glad that she was able to get that this was successful and that she will be free. And honestly, I'm not sure if we'll see much of her after this, but you know, I low-key kind of do. I won't lie.
I'm gonna have to bid you all adieu and good night. My phone has just flashed me at 5%, so I'm gonna have to call it a night.
Okay, thank you so much, Meg. We are almost done anyway, so, but thank
Yeah.
you so much for staying on for this very long episode.
That's all
And
right.
I'll see you
Healthy
again.
discussion.
Oh, it's so
Yep,
fun
I only
talking
had
to
that
you.
one last point anyway, so I will see you next time.
Bye, Meg.
See ya.
Meg.
Yeah, so it's a great moment. And now we learn, but that relief was only for a short duration. And we see a little boy standing in front of the Art Hollis Police Department. For a second, I was like, wait, is that Dylan? Is that Dylan? Because it was like a flashback or something, because he has lightish hair and that newsboy cap. And he's a cutie. And he's looking up, and Lauren comes out. You can tell it's like a very imposing building for him because he's a little kid. And Lauren comes out, and she walks out of the police department. And then she sees, then the little boy's like, Miss. And she's like, me? And he said, this is for you. He hands her a folded note, and he runs away. And actually, the point that Meg was just mentioning that she wanted to say, she said that first he saw her in front of the police department, but then he ended up going to a bridge, like a little further away. And it seems like he wasn't comfortable standing there, or maybe he was smart enough to realize he shouldn't stand in front of a police station to deliver a secret message.
I like
you
this
want-
kid a lot, even though we don't really know who he is. He seems really cute. It's like the
Yeah.
orphans. I feel attached.
He's very
Seems to be
cute.
an orphan, I guess. And honestly, like, I really hope that kid was paid for that.
Me too. I
Because
don't like
I'm
whoever.
guessing
It
was Salmon.
I think it is too. Seems most likely. It's been probably been a week now, I think. So it's
Probably a
around
little
time.
longer.
Yeah. It's been a week. She says when she is with March and March walks her home. Sorry, when the other guy walks her home and she meets Kieran outside her house, she's like, oh, it's been a week. So yeah, and it's been a while since then. But yeah, she gets this note, she unfolds it, and then she just looks at it and looks more intently at it, and that's where we end off. So
I
just,
assume it was something,
I just realized my
not
husband's
something
toes were in the
sup-
frame. So sorry
not
about
something
that.
surprising enough that would get a huge reaction, but it's for sure a decent reaction. Something probably made her a bit unhappy.
I think
I also assumed
The
it was
bit-
from Sandman because, right, it's not super surprising. She's not completely shocked, but she's just intense.
Mhm.
Who knows? I mean, probably from Sandman. But
I assume it's
and
probably from him.
yeah, I saw a bunch of, I know
Yeah.
the fandom came up with a bunch of very cute memes for possible note contents, which were funny.
um I'm
Yeah.
looking through the comments right now if there's like any talking points that like I would want to see. And there's a comment that says the tension between Bella and Nira is there, but it doesn't look to me of a sexual one. And I mean, I don't want to like get too like not PG-13, but like I really hope that it wasn't really sexual in nature because like I do think that a relationship like that could be executed well. I just worry about like the fan reaction because I won't lie, Bella and Darcy's relationship may be very susceptible to fetishization by the fandom.
Yes. Uh-huh. I mean, it happens in every fandom.
And
It's-
honestly, that's sorry, it's like something.
Yeah, I get worried. I think people will handle it well either way, but there's always going to be the few people that probably will fetishize it.
Wait, what's fetishized as opposed to regular shipping? What's the difference?
Well, people ship it specifically because it's mostly because they want. It's often between woman loving woman relationships that
Mhm.
happens more, and they just want to sexualize it and mess things up
Yeah,
specifically for their own reasons.
the dictionary definition from Google says to make in parentheses something the object of a sexual fetish, and the example they put is women's bodies are so intensely fetishized.
Mm.
So I won't lie, I am a little bit scared on that front. That may be what happens to them because it is a lesbian ship, and people are more likely to pay attention to it because it does seem to be an endgame ship, or at least have a ship where there was romantic feelings between it. Honestly, I'm just hoping for an emotional, deep romance between them.
I am
If
too.
you had to
I'm
ask me.
really excited for it if it does end up happening, because I think that it would be nice to see Bella more sensitive.
Mhm.
Yeah, we got to see a more human side to her now, and that already was very appealing. We talked about it before you came, but I was like, previously I had no reason to believe Bella had a heart, and now she shows that heart. So that was great to see a weakness, a vulnerability to her.
Oh, hell yeah.
And I mentioned that you always had hope that Bella, was not happy about the life she was living, etc. So yeah,
Mhm.
so now we have like you said, you were proven right.
Yeah.
Or at least to some extent we know that she didn't choose this.
A lot of theory wins for me this 80 thing.
Yeah.
But what was I thinking? Ah, dang it, I forgot it.
Okay, well, I guess meanwhile, hopefully
Oh, well.
you can remember. Do we have any other final thoughts on this episode?
I don't trust Sandman. Like I said this on the Discord, like I don't like him. My heart says get away from him, and I want him to like die and like be burned alive. But like my theory brain, the one craving information and knowledge,
Mhm.
wants him back like immediately because
Yeah.
he's in on the tea.
He gave us so much information in those 2 or whatever episodes he was in. I mean, it was like nonstop.
And Lauren came out of that discussion with Duck and Tristan that she was listening in on. She's totally gonna ask him about it, right?
Ooh, yes. I hope. Oh, great. That would be awesome.
Can't wait for him to. Honestly, Loki, I want him to be kidnapped too. Like just
Yeah.
See how it feels. Like, dude, because kidnapping, not cool.
Sexual
hold that
harassment,
against
not
him.
cool. Kidnapping, not cool. Murder, not cool. The story is teaching us many great lessons.
Mainly about what's not a good
So
thing to
many-
do.
Oh my god, there's so many great role models in PH. Like, like when something bad happens, just hold on to it for 10 years. Or like when problems arise, just like disappear off the map for a couple years. Like, just so many great role models in PH. I just aspire, I want to be all of them.
Well,
But it's not, it's just like the characters in PH genuinely are amazingly written. And I don't even know how to express that in words because it's just amazing.
so with that, if y'all have concluded, I think it would be a great time to wrap it up since it's been almost 3 hours. Almost 3 hours. We didn't start quite at when we were supposed to, but yeah, it's been a long episode. So yeah,
I'm so sorry
so
for keeping it this long and for
it's
arriving
okay. It
late
was
again.
it was your moment to shine, as Kieran said. Well, thanks so much for coming on. This was great.
I had a lot of
for having
fun.
us,
This is
as always.
I had a lot of fun. I can't wait for our next recording.
Yeah,
Mhm.
awesome. Me too.
I'm so excited.
Okay. Okay, thanks so much, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.
Bye.
Good night.
Good
Good
night.
night.
Bye.